waster in the world of work is other people who are going nowhere with their lives and want company. And they see you standing there, hey, come on, come with me, let's waste our lives together. And you get up close to them, the boss looks over there, and they see that person who they know is a wastrel, and they see you standing next to them, and they know the birds of a feather flock together, and so they, for instance, sabotages your career as well. Because if you're associated with people with no future, they assume you have no future as well. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? One of the first things you do is you get away from the time wasters. Person says, hey, you got a minute to talk? Yeah, but not right now. Right now I've got to get back to work. Why don't you go down the hall and ruin his career? Don't waste any time thinking, how can I get caught up? What you have to do is you have to think, how can I reallocate my time so since I can only do a few things, I do those things that make the greatest difference in my life. And this brings us to using the 80-20 rule on everything. We say use the 80-20 rule on everything is just keep asking yourself, what are the 20% of activities that account for 80% of the value? The 80-20 rule, it's a Pareto principle, says that if you have a list of 10 things to do in the course of a day, 2 of those things are more valuable than all the others put together. Those are the ones on which you start. You can get to the others later, but you start on those 2 things. Are you looking at the ramifications that take place from developing a single skill that takes a person from the bottom to the top of their income category? I mean, it's scary, and those skills are all around you, and they're all learnable skills. This is what is so exciting. They're all learnable skills. And if you can identify the skill, and time management is the core skill. If you can manage time management, I've told you about people who increase their incomes by hundreds of % by simply mastering time management. So
success is the result of little increments in a consistent basis over time. So the same thing is when you add in a discipline like 10 minutes of exercise or 30 minutes of reading or whatever it might be, over time, that's what gets you more intelligent. If you do that with activity and exercise, it gets you more fit. If you do it in terms of nutrition. So a friend of mine came up with this little idea. I liked it a lot. He calls it the hour of power. I'm going to pause for a minute, let that sink in. Think about who are the 5 people you spend the most time with, because they are reflecting back to you the level of consciousness, the level of success, the level of go for it, level of self-esteem that you are believing you are. Literally, you become like the people you hang out with. If that weren't true, why would we tell children, I don't want you hanging out with those kids? Because they're a bad what? Influence. And you think it stops when you're 18? Everyone you interact with is influencing you. So you want to surround yourself with positive people. Positive, or, as opposed to negative. Catherine Lonigan, she is a person I wrote about in my book. She won a scholarship to go to university, and it was for creative writing. And she got in her class, and she got an F on her first paper. She wrote a little short story. And this visiting professor from Harvard was running the class. He said, she went, why did I get an F? She said, because you can't write. And he said, look, I'm making a suggestion. You give up writing, and I'll give you a passing grade so you can keep your scholarship. But you got to change your major. Now, she was a gifted student in high school. Took all the AP classes in writing, wrote a play that was published and all this stuff. But she didn't want to lose her scholarship, so she agreed never to write again. Now, 15 years later, she's down in Texas. They're making a movie in the town next door. She goes over, and she's hanging out with the writers. Everyone else was trying to get close to the movie stars. And they said, why are you hanging out with us instead of them? So I always wanted to be a writer. I said, really? Well, why don't you just write? Well, I was told I couldn't. I had no talent. Really? Who told you that? Well, it was this Harvard professor visiting at my college. Oh, what does a professor know? I write for a living. Write something. Send it to me. I'll tell if it's any good. Anyway, she writes a book. Takes her a year to write it. She sends it to him. He loves it. Sends it to his editor. She loved it. She called him up, or her up rather, and said, I'd like to publish your book. Now, you know what that book was called? It's called Romancing the Stone. It's made into a movie. She wrote another book. It was called Jewel of the Nile, also made into the sequel of that movie. We lost her writing talent for 15 years because she let some other person tell her she wasn't any good. So you got to be careful. Do not let other people's opinion of you run you.
I look at you and I equate you as a football team. Why would I not equate you as a football team with my background, right? Think about a football team for a moment. 22 guys on a field that desperately need rest. They're being watched by 70,000 people who desperately need exercise. There you go. And can I ask you a question? Where would you rather be? Seriously, where would you rather be? I don't want to sit in the stands. I don't want to watch life go by. I want to be in the game. I want to advance the ball down the field against great obstacles. I want to succeed with my teammates. I want to be part of something bigger than just me. Now, let me ask you a question as we go on to learn some things. Why is it? Why is that some companies don't get it? Why? I asked myself, why don't they get it? Why don't organizations, teams, individuals, why are they challenged? Why can't they go live on their go side? And you'll notice something as I take you through a teaching lesson here, ladies and gentlemen, is this. I don't use... Ladies and gentlemen, who are you? And where are you going? And where are you going to end up and what's life really all about? And the reason that I ask that question of you is because the people that you lead in your organizations, and even the kids that may reside in your homes, are asking you that, and you need an answer for it. What's the picture of your future? How do you focus your energy? How do you get your teammates to focus their energy? What motivates you? Do you know what really motivates you in trying difficult times in front of your team? What do you do to put the gears in place to actually overcome the challenges at that moment? Do you have an answer for that?
If you are talking to a group of people who are then going to the CEO to make recommendations that you would be the vendor that would choose, they have to give some logical reasons of why they would suggest you. However, if you really connect with them, if they like you more, if you're better prepared, if you talk more about them than yourself and the other vendors did in the presentation, that gives you the edge. And remember, we want an unfair advantage. There are 3 ways that you are going to emotionally connect with your... And at one banquet, the national sales manager of this big American company said, "Patricia, I liked your speech. However, I loved how you delivered it. Could you teach our salespeople to speak like that? Because it takes us a year to get in front of a hospital board. We have a 1-hour presentation. It's worth $9 million a year if we get the business, and we're losing. Not because of our product, not because of our offering or our price, but because the sales presentation skills of our competitors are better than ours."
That communicating effectively by phone is a crucial part of our business success. In fact, if you don't do well on the phone, you don't get to first base. During this program, we're going to address all 3 components of being really outstanding on the phone, because the fact is, each component influences the other. We're going to look at what you can say on the phone that will bring about better success. We're going to talk about the actions, the specific way you handle the phone, what you do with your headset, what you do with your body language. It's important. And we're certainly also going to talk about what goes on in your head. Because what you think about, what you say, and what you do, all are connected. All impact each other. We're going to address all 3 areas in this program, because in order for you to make the telephone your most profitable business tool, you need to know how to think, how to act, and what to say when you're in an actual call. Voicemail. For most people in business, when they encounter a voicemail system, they go, "Oh no, the enemy." By having some techniques at your disposal, you're going to make voicemail encounters the most positive they could be for you. I want to show you how to change voicemail from being the foe to the friend. There are very simple steps you can take to use voicemail to create positive impressions for yourself. We're going to talk. How many people here are expert at playing the game of phone tag? And love it? Of course, it is so frustrating and so undermining when you leave a message for them. Once in a while they call you back. Inevitably you're out on the road or off at lunch. Then you call them. You know how it goes. Back and forth, back and forth. Probably never do connect, but meanwhile both of you experience a high level of frustration. I'm going to show you 3 simple steps that you can take to beat the game of phone tag. We're also going to talk about your communication style, because after all, the ultimate goal of every phone call is to establish dialogue, to build a relationship with that other person. If you're